In 2025, some Harley-Davidson motorcycles are crashing harder than ever. Once iconic machines are now sitting unsold, collecting dust in showrooms across America. Resale values have tanked and owners are desperate to offload them. Before you even think about buying a Harley this year, watch this first. Number 7. Harley-Davidson Street Glide ST. It was introduced as Harley-Davidson's bold attempt to fuse performance with touring comfort. Aimed squarely at riders who wanted aggressive handling and straight-line power wrapped in a bagger silhouette, it arrived with fanfare between the years 2022 and 2024. But in 2025, this once-hyped machine is now sitting cold and silent in dealerships across the country. What was supposed to be the new era of American performance touring has quickly become one of the most unwanted Harley-Davidson motorcycles on the market. Under the frame, the Street Glide Saint carries the Milwaukee 8 117 engine, a nameplate that made many older riders excited, expecting brutal torque and unmistakable road presence. And yes, it does bring the heat on paper. It delivers 106 horsepower and 127 pound-feet of torque, all from an engine measuring 1,900 cubic centimeters. That kind of muscle should have made it a heavy hitter in the Harley lineup. But once riders took it home, a different picture emerged. Let's talk specs. The Street Glide Saint weighs in at 827 pounds, making it a real heavyweight even in the bagger world. It uses Showa dual bending valve front suspension paired with emulsion rear shocks. But despite the setup, the ride still feels stiff under city conditions and cumbersome at low speeds. Braking is handled by dual front 4-piston calipers and a single rear 4-piston caliper setup, which are reliable but not outstanding for a bike in this performance class. Riders coming from sport tourers or even older Harley baggers have noted that the braking feel is vague, especially under emergency conditions. When it launched, the price tag was steep, $31,999. And for a while, buyers were willing to pay that premium for the mix of styling, power, and Harley's touring pedigree. But here in 2025, used units are routinely listed for under $20,000, and they're still not moving. Private sellers are slashing prices, online forums are full of listings, and many dealerships are just trying to clear floor space. Why did the Street Glide Saint fall so far so fast? It's a bike caught between worlds. Hardcore touring riders didn't want to trade the comfort and wind protection of the Ultra or Road Glide for something this stripped down. Meanwhile, younger performance-minded riders found the bike too heavy, too expensive, and too locked into Harley's classic ergonomics. The infotainment system, while functional, is still tied to Harley's aging boombox platform, and the analog-digital mix on the dash feels stuck in the last decade. And let's not forget the competition. Harley's own Road Glide Saint started to outsell the Street Glide Saint almost immediately. Riders preferred the fixed fairing, better wind deflection, and more stable high-speed ride. Once that shift happened, the resale value of the Street Glide Saint collapsed almost overnight. This was supposed to be the muscle bagger for a new generation. Instead, it's become a financial regret for many buyers. If you see a Street Glide Saint sitting untouched in your local dealership with a shiny tag on the bars, take a long, hard pause before signing anything. The spec sheet might look tempting, but the market has spoken, and in 2025, this bike is riding straight into the history books for all the wrong reasons. And if you think the Street Glide Saint lost value fast, wait until you see the next Harley on this list. Number 6. Harley-Davidson LiveWire. This bike was supposed to be Harley-Davidson's thunderbolt into the future, an all-electric revolution that would silence critics and electrify a new generation of riders. Launched in the year 2019 and marketed aggressively in the years that followed, the LiveWire was pitched as the perfect combination of American muscle and cutting-edge technology. But now in the year 2025, that vision has collapsed. The LiveWire sits unsold in showrooms, forgotten by both the old-school Harley faithful and the modern tech-savvy riders it was built to attract. At the heart of the LiveWire is a permanent magnet electric motor capable of delivering 100 horsepower and 84 pound-feet of torque. It may not rumble like a traditional Harley, but it packs impressive off-the-line acceleration, going from 0 to 60 miles per hour in just 3 seconds. That motor is paired with a high-voltage battery pack that promises a city range of 146 miles. For urban riders, that sounded promising, but real-world conditions quickly exposed its limitations. The bike's total weight comes in at 549 pounds, putting it in the same class as mid-size gas-powered cruisers. Suspension comes from fully adjustable Showa components, separate function forks in the front, and a balance-free rear cushion light monoshock in the rear. Braking duty duties are handled by dual radial-mounted 4-piston front calipers and a single rear caliper supported by a standard anti-lock braking system. Despite its advanced hardware, the LiveWire's overall ride feedback was described by many riders as stiff and clinical, far from the raw feel that Harley riders expect. When the LiveWire first hit showrooms, it came with a jaw-dropping starting price of $29,799. That sticker shocked longtime Harley customers who were used to getting V-twin torque in metal for that kind of money, not a silent electric ride and a tablet-style dashboard. And while the LiveWire came with multiple ride modes, regenerative braking, and connectivity features like built-in navigation and Bluetooth, it lacked the visceral personality that defined Harley's legacy. Worse still, the LiveWire launched at a time when America's charging infrastructure was still patchy. Riders in rural areas found it nearly impossible to plan long trips, while even city dwellers had to wrestle with long charge times and unreliable stations. Combine that with battery degradation concerns, limited aftermarket support, and the cost of specialized maintenance, and you had a bike that was expensive to buy, hard to live with, and nearly impossible to resell. Traditional Harley riders didn't just ignore the LiveWire, they rejected it. The lack of a V-twin engine, the absence of the signature rumble, and the futuristic styling were a hard pass for the faithful. And the younger riders Harley hoped to win over? They looked at cheaper, more versatile electric alternatives from brands like Zero or Energica and never looked back. Even the LiveWire's performance advantage wasn't enough to justify its price or daily usability. In 2025, pre-spin-off LiveWires are sitting at dealerships across the country with their batteries fully charged and no one willing to take the key. It may have been Harley's boldest gamble in decades, but the market didn't blink. What was meant to be the brand's future now looks like a detour nobody wants to revisit. And if you thought Harley's electric dream fell flat, wait until you see the next bike on the list, an old-school icon that's now gathering dust in every corner of the country. Number 5. Harley-Davidson 48. With its slammed stance, peanut fuel tank, and blacked-out components, it looked like a custom straight from a garage build show. But in 2025, this iconic bobber has turned into a bike most riders are actively avoiding. What was once celebrated for its stripped-down attitude is now struggling to stay relevant on showroom floors and resale markets alike. At the core of the 48 is an air-cooled V-twin engine measuring 1,202 cubic centimeters. It produces 60 horsepower and 73 pound-feet of torque, which sounds decent on paper for a bike in its category. But that output comes wrapped in a package that no longer keeps up with modern riding demands, especially with younger or more experienced riders looking for a blend of performance and tech. Let's take a deeper look at the specs. The 48 tips the scales at 552 pounds, giving it a decent power-to-weight ratio for bar hopping and short city rides. It rides on a 49mm front fork with cartridge damping, and the rear uses coil-over adjustable shocks. Braking comes courtesy of a single front disc and a single rear disc with optional anti-lock braking system, though it lacks the kind of precision riders expect today. Suspension travel is short and unforgiving, especially over rough pavement, and longer rides become punishing quickly. This isn't a bike built for distance or daily comfort, it's a weekend toy with a very narrow sweet spot. Then there's the fuel tank. That famous peanut-shaped tank only holds 2.1 gallons of gas. On a good day, you might squeeze out 90 miles before hunting for a gas station. And in 2025, with fuel prices climbing and riders looking to stretch their dollar, the 48's tiny range is a deal breaker. Riders are demanding more practicality without sacrificing style, and this bike just doesn't deliver. The 48's dashboard is another weak point. The bike comes with a basic analog speedometer, no fuel gauge, and no ride modes. Forget traction control or digital displays. None of that tech ever made it to the 48. In a market where even budget cruisers offer connectivity and safety features, this lack of modern equipment makes the bike feel outdated right out of the crate. The price when new hovered around $11,000 depending on dealer setup, but now in 2025, resale values have taken a nosedive. Even tastefully modified units with low mileage are being listed for under $5,000, and they're still not moving. Owners who bought into the hype just a few years ago are now facing steep depreciation and limited interest on the used market. The riding position is another hit or miss issue. The forward controls, combined with the low seat height of 28 inches, create a stretched out posture that looks aggressive but puts real strain on your back and hips during longer rides. For taller riders, the ergonomics can feel downright cramped. And while it may photograph well in a dealership window, the reality of riding riding a 48-day today is far less romantic. Once a fan favorite for customizers and cafe cruiser fans, the 48 has become a relic. Its lack of comfort, tech, and range have caught up to it, and the used market reflects that reality. And if you think this retro bobber struggled to keep up, just wait until you see the next bike on the list. We spent weeks digging through auction data, dealer reports, and rider forums to uncover which Harleys are falling hardest in 2025. If this kind of deep dive helps you avoid a five-figure mistake, hit subscribe and like this video. Number 4. Harley-Davidson Pan America 1250 Standard. Released between the years 2021 and 2023, this bike was designed to compete head-to-head with European giants like BMW and KTM. It came out swinging with bold styling, a high-tech engine, and the promise of taking Harley off the pavement and into the dirt. But here in 2025, the Pan America Standard has become one of the hardest Harleys to sell, gathering dust at dealerships from coast to coast. The heart of the bike is the Revolution Max engine, which produces an impressive 150 horsepower and 94 pound-feet of torque from a power plant sized at 1,250 cubic centimeters. On paper, it had the right numbers. Riders expected a high-speed adventure machine that could also handle rugged trails and long-distance touring with ease, but the real-world performance didn't quite live up to the marketing promises. Let's break down the numbers. The Pan America weighs in at 562 pounds. That's fairly manageable for an adventure touring bike, but still heavy enough to be intimidating to new riders or anyone not used to handling tall machines. Suspension duties are handled by a semi-active front and rear setup using Showa components, giving it electronically adjustable preload and damping. The brakes consist of dual front 4-piston monoblock calipers and a single-piston floating rear caliper, providing solid, reliable stopping power. The bike comes with a 6.5-inch touchscreen display, multiple ride modes, and cornering-enhanced traction control, but many riders found the electronics to be clunky and less intuitive than rival systems from the competition. At launch, the starting price of the Pan America Standard was $17,319. Harley-Davidson poured serious money into marketing this bike, hoping to attract a new generation of adventure riders, but the gamble didn't pay off. By 2025, the used market is flooded with Pan Americas, and even newer low-mileage models are struggling to sell. Riders are walking past them in showrooms, opting instead for proven adventure platforms like the BMW GS Series or the KTM Adventure lineup. So why did the Pan America miss the mark? The answer lies in identity. Harley-Davidson has always been about low-end torque-thumping V-twins and chrome-heavy cruisers that own the pavement. The Pan America, with its tall stance, modern lines, and quiet Revolution Max engine, felt like a completely different brand. Traditional Harley riders didn't see themselves on it, and adventure bike riders didn't trust Harley's first serious entry into the segment. It became a machine without a clear audience. Reliability concerns also surfaced quickly. Reports of overheating, glitchy electronics, and service difficulties began circulating on forums. Unlike BMW or KTM, which have decades of experience building and supporting adventure bikes globally, Harley dealerships were often unprepared for the unique maintenance needs and parts demands of this kind of motorcycle. Owners complained of long wait times for parts and difficulty finding trained technicians. The Pan America Standard was a bold idea, but in 2025, it's become a clear example of what happens when a brand steps too far outside its lane. And if you think Harley's adventure experiment fell flat, wait until you see the next bike on this list. It was supposed to modernize the brand's most iconic nameplate, but it backfired in the worst way. Number 3. Harley-Davidson Sportster S. After decades of air-cooled simplicity and raw attitude, the company unveiled this new chapter in the year 2021 with high expectations. The goal? To modernize the Sportster lineup and attract a new generation of riders while retaining the edge that made it legendary. But now in the year 2025, the Sportster S has landed on the wrong side of motorcycle history. Dealerships across the country are struggling to move these bikes, and the resale value has dropped so sharply that even die-hard Harley-Davidson fans are starting starting to look the other way. At the heart of the Sportster S is the Revolution Max engine, a water-cooled V-twin designed to take Harley into the future. This particular model features 121 horsepower and 94 pound-feet of torque, all from a 1,250 cubic centimeter power plant. On paper, it should dominate the middleweight cruiser segment. The numbers are impressive for a Harley in this size range, more than enough to outrun older Softails and go head-to-head with Japanese sport nakeds. But real-world performance isn't where this bike failed. It's how it feels on the road and what it lacks in soul that ultimately tanked its reputation. Weighing in at 502 pounds, the Sportster S is light by Harley standards. It features a low-mounted Showa inverted front fork and a single preload adjustable rear monoshock that should have made it more nimble than its predecessors. Braking comes from a single front disc with a 4-piston radial-mounted caliper and a rear disc with a 2-piston floating caliper. Despite these updates, many riders describe the handling as twitchy and unbalanced, especially at low speeds or in tight turns. For a motorcycle built to bring new energy into the Harley lineup, the ride quality left a lot to be desired. From a styling perspective, the Sportster S is aggressively modern. Fat tires, low-slung exhausts, a futuristic digital dash, and minimalist lighting all give it a custom bike from the factory vibe. But this is exactly where the bike started to alienate its most loyal audience. For traditional Harley fans, the styling was too far removed from the classic American cruiser look. The peanut tank, the chrome glint, the analog gauges, gone. What replaced them was a bike that looked more like something from a European concept studio than Milwaukee's own factory floor. When it launched, the Sportster S came with a manufacturer's suggested retail price of $14,999, and for a while riders were intrigued, but by the year 2025, resale prices are frequently dropping below $10,000, even for low-mileage units in pristine condition. The used market is flooded and forums are filled with owners venting frustrations about depreciation and poor trade-in offers. For a company known for building bikes that are supposed to roar, shake, and rattle with attitude, the Sportster S just doesn't hit the same way. It has the numbers, it has the tech, but what it lacks is the heartbeat that riders crave. And if you think that's bad, wait until you see the next Harley on this list. A motorcycle that tried to rewrite tradition and lost everything in the process. Number 2. Harley-Davidson Street Rod 750. This bike was Harley-Davidson's attempt to spice up its entry-level street platform with an aggressive design and sportier performance. Released between the years 2018 and 2022, this bike promised more lean angle, improved acceleration, and a bolder look aimed at urban riders. On paper, it seemed like a promising fusion of American muscle and nimble city handling, but here in 2025, this bike has become one of the most overlooked and unwanted Harley-Davidson models on the used market. At its core, the Street Rod 750 is powered by a liquid-cooled 4-stroke V-twin engine that produces 70 horsepower and 47 pound-feet of torque. The engine is sized at 749 cubic centimeters, which puts it firmly in the middleweight category. For a bike with such a compact frame, those figures should have made it punchy and quick. And while it delivered solid mid-range power, the execution failed to win over riders who expected the full Harley-Davidson experience. Let's go over the hard specs. The Street Rod 750 weighs in at 516 pounds. The suspension includes 43mm inverted forks up front and dual piggyback shocks in the rear, intended to give it sharper handling than its more relaxed Street 750 sibling. The brakes consist of dual piston calipers front and rear with dual discs up front, which are adequate for urban stops but far from exceptional. The seat height sits at an unusually tall 29.8 inches, which made it a poor fit for shorter riders or those transitioning from lower cruisers. When it launched, the price hovered around $8,699. That was supposed to make it a stepping stone for younger riders entering the Harley brand. But the styling was polarizing. The flat bars, tall seat, and compact cockpit made it feel cramped and awkward for larger riders, while the bulky tail section and small gas tank turned off fans of traditional cruiser styling. In short, the Street Rod was caught in no man's land. Not sporty enough for the performance crowd and not classic enough for Harley's traditional base. By 2025, the resale market has completely collapsed. Listings for clean, low-mileage street rods can be found for under $4,000, and even at that price, buyers are walking away. Online forums are flooded with sellers unable to move their bikes, and parts support has become spotty since the model was officially discontinued by Harley-Davidson. Many dealerships have removed the model from their showroom language altogether, quietly scrapping or offloading remaining inventory through secondary channels. Another big issue has been the lack of aftermarket support. While other Harley-Davidson bikes have an endless supply of customization options, the Street Rod's unique frame and proportions mean there's little you can do to truly personalize the ride. That left many owners stuck with a bike that looked and felt generic and not in a good way. The Street Rod 750 may have been built with good intentions, but it misfired on all fronts. Poor ergonomics, limited rider appeal, and rapid depreciation have sealed its fate. Riders looking for a nimble city bike now have far better options, both within and outside the Harley lineup. And for those who bought in hoping it would become a collectible or sleeper hit, well, that dream has long since faded. And if you think the Street Rod was a disappointment, wait until you see the final Harley on this list. Number 1. Harley-Davidson CVO Limited. Once hailed as the ultimate American luxury tourer, the Road Glide CVO stood as Harley-Davidson's top-shelf offering for riders who wanted everything: performance, comfort, and chrome wrapped into one beast of a motorcycle. But in 2025, it's become one of the worst investments in the entire Harley lineup. With resale values collapsing faster than any other touring bike, even the most loyal riders are walking away from this chrome-loaded monster. At the core of the Road Glide CVO is the twin-cooled Milwaukee 8117 V-twin engine. This power plant produces an impressive 105 horsepower and 126 pound-feet of torque, backed by a displacement of 1,920 cubic centimeters. It's a torque-rich motor that moves the heavyweight frame with authority, at least on paper. But on the road, the sheer size and complexity of the machine makes it a handful, especially for older riders or those who prefer simple, stripped-down performance. The Road Glide CVO tips the scales at 975 pounds. Yes, you heard that right, 975 pounds before you even throw on a passenger or weekend luggage. Add to that a seat height of 29.9 inches, show a dual bending valve, front suspension, hand-adjustable rear suspension, and reflex-linked Brembo brakes with cornering anti-lock braking system. These are high-end components, no doubt, but they add weight, cost, and complexity to a bike that already sits at the very top of Harley's lineup. The original factory price for a new Road Glide CVO was a staggering $54,900, and that's before any dealership fees or customization. This motorcycle was built for riders who wanted it all: boombox infotainment system, heated grips, custom paintwork, top-shelf chrome accents, and full touring luggage. But now, in 2025, used models are flooding the market and selling for less than half that price. It's not uncommon to see well-maintained Road Glide CVO bikes listed for under $27,000. So why did the value collapse so brutally? One reason is shifting buyer demand. The new generation of Harley riders are gravitating toward leaner, meaner machines like the Street Glide Special or custom lowrider builds. These bikes offer better performance-to-weight ratios, easier customization, and far less maintenance hassle. Riders no longer want to haul nearly 1,000 pounds of touring steel just to get infotainment and chrome. They want to feel connected to the machine, not buried under it. Maintenance and service costs have also played a major role in dragging down resale. The Road Glide CVO is packed with electronics, sensors, and rider aids which sound great until something breaks. Many Harley-Davidson dealerships charge premium rates for diagnostics and repairs, and independent shops often refuse to work on these tech-heavy touring bikes. Owners report issues ranging from faulty infotainment systems to heat management failures, and repair bills can run into the thousands of dollars with just a few trips to the shop. These bikes didn't just lose value, they lost the trust of the riders who bought them. If you've owned one, or almost did, drop a comment below. And if this video saved you from making a costly mistake, hit like and subscribe. We've got more hard truths coming.